Welcome back to another episode of Movie Hour. I'm your host, Vivek, and joining me today is Drawn and Vashish. Today we're reviewing The Little Things. It's an HBO Max movie that came out like Friday on the 29th, I think. And it stars Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, and Jared Leto. Three big A-list actors. And yeah, we have a crime drama movie to review today. Starting off with non-spoilers, we'll just briefly go over the story. I don't know who wants to go with the story. Drawn.
You go, Drawn.
Okay, so the story
being biased.
is, without doing spoilers and just being very straightforward, it's about a guy who's killing women and two police officers who are investigating it. That's just the bare bones of the story. But you come to learn a little bit more about both of those characters and the suspect throughout it. But there isn't much beyond that. What you're gonna get in this movie is very familiar. A lot of stakeouts, a lot of crime scenes, looking at evidence, piecing small things together. There's always a scene where someone's investigating a place that they didn't get the warrants to, and they got to be quick and quiet about it. There's a lot of those tropes that are now common in crime thriller dramas. So when you're going into this movie, be prepared for that. I don't think it really did anything too different, and that was kind of what my problem was. I'm not very sold on this movie personally.
I have very different opinions, and I think Vashish, I don't know if you want to talk about it too. I think you have different opinions about the movie also.
Yeah.
Well, just to put frankly, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
There's actually, from the other two movies that we reviewed, actually, I guess, a lot better than the other two movies. But like you said, there's a lot of stuff that they're not really. There's nothing different. It's just a basic crime thriller, true crime drama. So there's not like the last movie I think that they did something different was Gone Girl. It's pretty much a detective crime movie, but they did a lot of different things and new things. And I guess that's just David Fincher is just good at that stuff. But yeah, this movie is very familiar. When it comes to like the old school true crime way set up and all that. It's a lot of things you've seen before. There's nothing new. But I think I can see what they're going for. I didn't think it was that bad, but it's okay.
And for me, I didn't hate this movie at all either. It's just like a true crime detective movie where you try to find a killer and they're investigating, and that's what I really liked about the movie because I like investigations, and you see that in this movie, and them trying to figure out who it is, and then them going through that process, and just this unfolding this mystery layer by layer. So people can say, I saw reviews, people saying that it's just following a typical mystery movie. But I don't think that's really a negative for me per se, because yeah, you can try to go your way to make a really unique mystery movie, but if you kind of just do the same stuff, or not the same stuff, but just you make a solid crime movie, then I don't think I can dock this movie points for doing that, right? Because they're not out here to make a bad movie. They're making it to me a good movie. Well, and for my vote, I feel like I can say this movie is bad because they didn't try anything new, which I don't think that's a fair point.
Because a lot of things is solid in the movie, but the thing that I think hurts the movie is that they're not trying anything new. It's a lot of typical cliche stuff that we've seen many times before. So I think that's what hurt. But the performance is good. The cinematography.
Super good.
Yeah,
cinematography is so forgettable. I don't think they did anything visually interesting throughout the entire movie to me. As I was watching it, they do some interesting edits. I would say, cutting between things that Denzel's character is remembering from past investigations to now, and how they weave those together. I thought that was visually, or not visually appealing, but that was an interesting choice.
But by him
watching the movie, it was just kind of by the numbers. This could have been an HBO TV show. It could have been a movie. There was nothing about it to me that felt very distinctive. And I know for you, you're saying in terms of the story, that it was the fact that it is familiar and didn't do anything new isn't a bad thing. but for me, it was a bad thing.
Well,
I want movies to do a little bit more, especially if they're going to be doing something so conventional like an investigation of a dead girl.
mm,
It should at least try to do something different in a genre that is just so full of that, you know?
yeah, I think that hurt the movie. It being cliche, it definitely hurt the movie. But besides that, I think for the most part, it's okay, but it's nothing new. You know what I mean? Like it's just a basic true crime movie. Like I've seen movies done a lot better, and they're older, like Gone Girl or Insomnia. These movies have done.
This reminded me most of Seven, actually, out
Se-
of movies I can compare to.
In the previews, I was thinking the same thing. Like if this is kind of like a new, like kind of like a new version or whatever of
yeah.
Seven, right? Then I was like, oh yeah, it's great, but it's nothing like Seven. I think they're trying to be like Seven, but you know,
exactly.
But they failed in that.
It's taken pretty much the skeleton of Seven. So there's a detective who is grizzled, this Denzel Washington character. He's pretty much the fit-in for Morgan Freeman's character in Seven.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kind of done with it. He's the most seasoned, so he's been through it. He's kind of been more jaded because of all that he's gone through, and has this kind of warped sense of justice. Not because he's like Batman, where he's like dishing it out, but he doesn't feel as if what they're doing is necessarily making enough of a difference in the world. And then he's paired together with Rami Malek's character, who's exactly like Brad Pitt. He's like a hotshot, quick to action sort of detective who's new and wants to prove himself. And then we have, I don't know how much we want to get into spoilers, but
I think we can hop in spoilers.
Okay, so we have Jared Leto's character, who is very much so playing with these detectives, understands what they're doing, and has this sort of like, oh well, what are you going to do about it sort of attitude that was very similar to
Kevin Spacey's.
Yeah, I was thinking of his name, but I was like, he's canceled now, so I don't even know if we need to say it.
It's all right.
Kevin Spacey, very similar to Kevin Spacey's character, where he has like this sort of god complex in a way, where he feels as if he's doing good, or like his crime isn't as bad as it is. It just feels like they wanted to do something more, and like they were trying to do something better, and then it just felt so boring through the entire movie. I was just like, I've seen this before done 10 times better, and I don't care to see it again.
That's true. What I was gonna say is when you said about Morgan Freeman and Denzel, and this being similar like Seven, is also there's a line in this movie that reminded me of Seven, when Morgan Freeman is talking to Brad Pitt, and he's asking him like, why, like if he thinks we're making a difference because all we do is document stuff and this and that, right? That's what Morgan Freeman was saying to Brad Pitt, and I think Denzel had a similar line to Rami Malek's character. And as soon as he said that line, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much them trying to be like Seven. Because how the movie, especially the preview of this movie, reminded me so much of Seven. And how they edited the preview, the trailer. But
actually, I didn't see the trailer for this at all.
You didn't see it? Yeah, it's on HBO Max. So I put it on. A Denzel movie. Rami Malek, Jared Leto's in it. I gotta see what it's about.
And I do want to stress, I thought they did really well. Like, I thought Denzel was great in that role. Rami Malek, I was a little iffy about him.
He stared a lot.
I think it might be
wide eye stare.
The wide stare, like
I think it might be like just him, his presence. His character was whatever. I didn't quite get what he was going for in terms of his acting choices. He just kind of came off like a creep. And so throughout the entire movie, I was like, is he involved?
Yeah.
Like, is he like doing something? Because he's just like, we're going to get this guy, aren't we? And it's like, what's going on? Like, why are you like that, dude?
That could just be his face. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like his clenched jaw and everything. It's like, damn.
But, yeah, I feel like they all did a good performance. All three of them, they're like A-list actors. All have Oscars.
I also like the dialogue. I felt like they wasn't trying to dumb anything down. It was very like witty, straight to the point. It's like they think their daughter's another stat and things like that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I like the dog too, and I think the acting was very good. I like Denzel's character. You could see he's just like this guy that's very driven, and you see throughout this movie that because he used to be this great detective that was driven, he got to this point where he had a heart attack, he lost his family, and he ended up shooting an innocent girl, a victim, by accident. And
the big twist of the movie weirdly enough. And I don't know how much that worked for me as the big twist. Like I felt as if it was
That was I
good
don't think
for
that
his
was the
character.
twist.
It felt like it was supposed to be like oh, like look what I accidentally did, like you did the same thing as me, like we both have these like skeletons in our closet. It felt like
Oh,
that was what they were trying to wrap it up with, but it didn't come off that way to me. Like I felt as if we were so detached from that when it was revealed that he killed someone here, it was just kind of like, oh well, movie's ending anyway, like
like,
why is
oh yeah,
why is
I
it a
see what you're
big
saying.
revelation now?
That's what you're saying. Like I guess that is like part of the twist, but like I would say like the main twist is when Remy Malek's character ends up killing Jared Leto's character, which to me I didn't see that coming. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I feel like that twist and then revealing that Denzel's character did this too, um, was an interesting point. I feel like to me I feel like it was earned in that moment because if you saw that scene, I think a little bit later, it would have been okay. But I felt like if it happened at the end, showing that Denzel's character um did this before and he knew what to do, then it kind of ties together. But I feel like the ending scene is where most people would have their biggest problems with the movie. Um, I feel like some people will feel like the ending should have been different, where maybe Jared Leto's character killed Remy Malek's character, or maybe there was like a shootout, or maybe they actually caught Jared Leto's character.
Yeah. Usually in these movies, in these true crime dramas, it's always something like that. It's a shootout or a big twist or something like that. But this one went in a way, like you said, you didn't see it coming. Because I was thinking of the movie is pretty much playing this like a normal true crime, drama. So I figured it was gonna be like a shootout or something, or maybe a twist. But it went in a way because your villain got killed by a shovel to the face, and that's something that I didn't see coming. And I don't know if that's
Died. I was shocked he actually died.
yeah, and
from
he died
Yeah.
from it, right? And that's something that I think hurt the movie. I think what hurts this movie is the beginning and the end of the movie. Because in the beginning of the movie, they had this girl that's driving on the road, and she makes the dumbest choice I've ever seen.
Yeah, where she gets out of it.
She gets out and goes running, like, just stay in your car. Maybe he'll drive by. Or if you get out, no one's there, go back in your car. You start running in the desert, like, what are you thinking, right?
But she
After
could,
like
right?
after
Like-
she lived, but like after like two doors that wouldn't open for me, I would have got back in my car.
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
And then they
It was
didn't,
hilarious.
they didn't even bring her character. Like they brought her for the to do the where you could see, she could like see who
Yeah, point him out.
point him out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jared Leto walked in, and then it was tainted. So was that the reason for her to be in the beginning wasn't a strong beginning, and the ending wasn't a strong ending? And I think those are the
think
two main things that hurt it.
I think the beginning actually it was strong, but it ended up ultimately being pointless.
It's
Because-
pointless, yeah.
Because like when it first started and it started that way, and she's in her car driving, and then she's being followed. There's a lot of tension there. It was very interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah.
It felt like it was going to be a lot more of this drama and build up between murders and such,
Yeah.
and escalation that never really happened. So there was another murder of the character Rhonda, who's a runner, and we see her very briefly get followed or trailed by a car.
Mm.
And I was expecting a little bit more like the movie Zodiac, where we see him progressively kill people and taunt the police, and it's just like this whirlwind. It never really felt like we were getting a lot of that. It felt like these things happened, and it was just kind of like okay, now back onto the investigation without
guess
really
like-
being propelled forward by these murders.
I guess because like during this time the movie's taking place, this Jared Leto's character is already like an established killer during the time, so he already has like multiple bodies under his belt, and they're actually like investigating him at this point,
Mhm.
or trying to find him. So I feel like that beginning scene could have been better if she actually was captured or killed.
Yeah, not that I'm rooting for like
Yeah.
seeing women just killed on screen.
Yeah.
Like, just
But
to
just
give
a-
a little more weight to
A little bit
Yeah.
more weight to it, yeah.
Yeah, like shock value, and then you probably get that little progression like your John was saying.
Mhm.
Or that scene could have been used in a different place, like a different spot in the movie. So like a few scenes later when her character comes back and it's her trying to identify the guy, then it could have been like closer together so there's more of a little weight. Not just the scene in the beginning and then you forget her and then like halfway through the movie is when she pops back up, and you're like, oh, there she is.
But she doesn't come back
What's gonna
after that.
happen?
Yeah, she
Yeah,
doesn't come back.
So she didn't really provide any information either. It was just kind of like, oh, like I don't really recognize him. I would need to see him in person.
Yeah, I guess like maybe I mean it's maybe that's the wrong thing to say. It's not a strong beginning, but maybe it was a pointless beginning because she never comes back into play. You know?
Yeah, not in a very valuable way, because when she does come back, it's just kind of like oh yeah, she was in this movie earlier. Not in a way where we're following her character and her trauma or anything.
Yeah,
it was just
because it's more of like them like almost like getting him and like being able to arrest him, but because she saw him in handcuffs, the lineup was tainted, and they had to like they don't have any more evidence, and then it just goes into them like staking him out, trying to find him. Which I didn't like Joe's like character because he knows he's being followed, so he's just going to strip clubs
most of the time.
Yeah, work.
he's wasting the time.
Yeah, he's wasting the time, and like I like it because it's like he knows what he's doing, and I would be pissed if I was in the car for 24 hours a day just going through that same routine. I think he like that was a good development of that character because the character is smart. He's not dumb because he knows how to he knows what to do. He knows how to talk to the cops, and then
And
even
he's
when
been studying them and such too.
Yeah.
Like,
and then when he
didn't like his. Oh, continue. Sorry.
I was saying like even when he called cop down at his apartment. Like that's the thing. Like, I think that was like pretty smart.
That's pretty clever, right?
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily like his character though. It felt weird to me. He kind of felt like a Jack Sparrow type of character where he's kind of like mumbling around, doing a lot of like the swaying. It's like
yeah. Did you see his walking?
He has an interesting walk.
Also, yeah. It was just like I didn't know what we were supposed to feel when we're seeing his character on screen. Like I didn't know if he's supposed to come off intimidating or if we're supposed to not believe he's the suspect. Like there was no sort of ambiguity to his character. It was just presented in a way where it's like, here's a weirdo. And and that wasn't like very good. Like if he's the main suspect and ultimately ends up being who they're suspecting as the killer, they didn't conclude it was him, but it is him. You know, like at least give us some sort of confusion or misdirection here and there or red herring. There was none of that. It was just like, oh, here's the weirdo who did it because he's a weirdo the entire movie.
Yeah, he's just acting weird.
He doesn't do anything different beyond that. Like he's smart, but it's not smart in a way where he's like throwing words back at them using Seven once again as an example, where he's like toying with their psyche. He does it a little bit before Rami Malek hits him over the head with the shovel and kills him, but we needed a little bit more of that. For the most part, it was a lot of off-screen, oh, I called the police to my house moments and I'm wasting your time. But I didn't get to see him when he's on screen do anything that's really intimidating or making me go, oh man, this guy, he's something. Like I never felt that, and that made me even more like disappointed as I'm watching, because it's just like the main villain of this whole thing isn't even a character that's like cool in like the slightest.
Now
I think
not like Kevin Spacey's character.
No, not at all.
I think like the ending when he's talking to like Rami Malek, or like when he goes up to him when he's like the phone is ringing at the end doing a stakeout. I think that sequence in the car ride and in the field, it was like a good interaction for his character, because you do get to see some of that stuff that you're saying. And I think the movie does kind of give you like doing an investigation of like it's definitely this guy just because of what he knows, and
he's a big name too. That was kind of what sucked. I almost wish I didn't know Jared Leto was in the movie, like going into the movie, because then I would have at least had a little bit more of a who is it. But if I know the three big names are Denzel, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto, and Rami and Denzel are off the hook, I'm like, oh,
it's Leto.
Yeah, and even the trailer puts him as like kind of paints him as the bad guy.
Yeah.
So then what's the point of the movie at that point? Yeah. Like if I know who did it, is it just so I can watch Rami Malek's character spiral into an obsession, like to parallel what happened to Denzel's character?
Yeah.
And if so, then
I think yeah.
It's
I
the,
think
the
it's
names. Is the actors' names getting people to watch this movie? I think it's just these
yeah.
three Oscar-winning actors, and then people go, okay, it's a cop thing. So let's watch it. It's
Yeah.
I think that's
And
what
I
it
think the
is.
movie is like it's an investigation, but then it's also that character dynamic between Denzel and Rami Malek, and like Denzel is Rami Malek's character just like 20 years in the future if he continues down that path,
And
which
there's
I like
also that like
the
thing
dynamic.
Denzel keeps saying where the past is the present, the future is the whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was very convoluted, but it was
Uh,
And then there's like moments in when they're together of like Denzel asking Rami Malek, "Are you sure that you want to be here?" Or like, "Are you sure you want to be? Should you be home with your wife?" Or like, just think about what you're doing. I can just just like pointing out like, if you continue down this path, you'll be where I am, just like 20 years in the future, where I have a heart attack, I'm divorced, I don't talk to my kids
and I
anymore.
murdered a white girl in the forest.
Yeah, an accident. Yeah,
uh,
and I'm now just like a shut-in, living off in the desert, and a deputy, not even respect the
Demoted.
detective anymore. Get
Yeah,
demoted.
yeah,
So it's like you got to think about where you want to go, and I like that aspect of the relationship.
Did any of you guys expect this to kind of be like an equalizer? Because the way they were like talking about his character, they were
Mhm.
like, "Oh yeah, that's John Deacon," or I guess that was his
Yeah,
name, right? Joe Deacon or something like that.
yeah,
yeah,
Deacon.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
or
like,
something.
it's like, "Oh yeah, there's Deacon," or like everyone who was making him out to be like he was John Wick, and I was just
Yeah,
like, so like, is there gonna be like a cool fight sequence or any?
yeah,
And it just turns out he was just like a grizzled detective, and
yeah,
that was also like, okay, so the movie isn't going in that direction. It
yeah,
is just a paint by numbers mystery, which I already know the mystery of. It's Jared Leto, so
yeah.
yeah.
that's why like I don't mean to be overly critical on this movie because I don't think it's a bad movie. I
Mm.
think it's a movie that didn't engage me because it wasn't presenting anything new. From the
Yeah,
start, I knew who the killer was. And then from that point on, I'm now just watching a character dynamic that I'm already familiar with, an old detective and a new hotshot.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, it's not doing anything that's visually stimulating for me. And it didn't have the gimmick that a lot of these other movies have, like Gone Girl, where halfway through the movie we find out that, well, I don't want to give a spoiler for Gone Girl, but
I
Gone
It's
mean,
all
Girl
right.
has a big
I
It's
think
gimmick,
just
okay.
spoil it.
You can
Yeah, if
spoil
you haven't watched
and
Congo at
then
this time,
Seven
it's
has the
like,
gimmick of the seven deadly sins. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
a lot, another movie that I thought of when I was watching this was like Zodiac, which is based on a true story. And I asked Vivek during the movie if it was based on a true story, because then I could excuse a lot of this narrative like meandering, because it's just like, well, that's what happened in real life.
Mhm.
yeah,
So the entire time I'm like, if this was all made up, why give us such a bland story with such great actors? It could have
mhm.
been so much better, and it wasn't. And
Yeah,
I can't excuse movies like that.
I was saying to Vashish that we felt like this movie needed even though this movie like 2 hours, I think it needed an extra scene, and more specifically with Jared Leto's character to me, just
yeah,
to develop his character more.
yeah,
He could have been that Kevin Spacey character. It would, I think, with just one more scene to me.
yeah. I agree too. Like, well, on this channel too, we're gonna compare a lot of movies that we're watching to other movies, so they might be spoilers for a whole bunch of stuff. So it's all right.
Be prepared. But like
Yeah,
that's the only way you really can.
yeah.
At least
Explain it.
personally, I think that's the only way you really can digest the movie. Like
Yeah.
it needs a frame of reference somewhere.
You see,
Mm.
I'm a big David Fincher fan, and since this
Love my
movie,
favorite director, personally.
yeah, me too, my favorite director. I watch all of his movies, and all the movies that we just said, Seven, Zodiac, Gone Girl, they're all Fincher movies, right? So that man knows how to make a great detective movies. Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, right? So there's a whole bunch of
Didn't
good.
he also do True Detective one of the seasons? Am I misinterpreting this? Maybe I'm
he
thinking
might
of
have.
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter.
I think
He did
He did
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter, yeah.
which is also,
Really good.
criminal investigation, homicide
Yeah.
investigation.
Yeah.
And that's like a 1 hour show that he could do give you a lot of information in 1 hour. And this movie was 2 hours long,
And it also had the same detective dynamic with the old grizzled detective who's been here,
Yeah.
and the new hotshot who wants to prove himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the thing too with like comparing this movie to like Seven when it comes to the building, Morgan Freeman, and when Brad Pitt got there, you could tell Morgan Freeman didn't really like him, So, but what got them to get closer was Brad Pitt's wife, right? And they had this dinner, and then you could see them like pretty much, getting along and talking to each other, and then getting to know each other on more of a more intimate level. And
My Lauren said how when she
Hmm.
watched that scene, she thought that Morgan Freeman was trying to pull a Mr. Steer girl. he, was, he was trying to cuck Brad Pitt somehow. Imagine losing your girl to Morgan Freeman.
Would you be mad?
he spends probably more time with Morgan Freeman than he does with his wife. So
Yeah.
Honestly,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no,
yeah,
no.
what were we saying?
Oh yeah. So with this movie, I did like the fact that they had that scene where, when Rami Malek asked what's his name Denzel Washington to come to the first crime scene, and then as they're doing their thing, right, he's like saying, okay, when is this guy hit this boy wonder, whatever he is, right, this notorious cop Denzel gonna like do something, and then Denzel goes over to the apartment across, and then he's pretty much seeing this thing in a different way. And I like the fact that Rami Malek saw that. He saw that Denzel actually is a good cop. He went across, and then he's looking at the building across, and then like later on, they have like a scene at Rami Malek's house. So he was invited to the house, and they had like this little thing together. And then you can see that now Denzel could relate to Rami Malek because he has a wife, he has 2 kids just like him. He's always like working in the job. He's a hard worker, right? So from them visually seeing, like, he sees that he's a good cop, and Denzel sees that he is pretty much similar to what he used to be, what Denzel used to be in the past. I kind of like that building. That was I think a good way to build their relationship a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll agree.
Yeah,
You know what I
and more onto that. Rami Malek is like learning more about Denzel's character as the movie goes on. So he's kind of learning like what happened to him. Like he had these heart attacks. This is like he left the force. He was kind of like run out. And he like got the force and everything. And you slowly like see that Rami Malek is learning this new information about him, but then still learning to trust him because they have one thing in common, and that's they're there to capture the bad guy for the victims.
Mhm.
And like they had the whole thing of like, don't be an angel because this
Yeah,
is
and
what happens.
I also liked Rami Malek's his pursuit for justice wasn't strictly on finding the bad guy. There was a moment even when he's with Rhonda's parents, one of the victims, and promising that he'll find her, and he always has the picture. There's like this bit of humanity to him where his interest isn't just, well, I need to get this guy. It's I need to get this guy because there's a human behind this. Like there are families who are mourning, like, and
Yeah.
he even has a moment where he's talking to his daughters. He kisses them goodnight. He's like, "Did you pray?" Like you can tell very much so that he's like in a way looking at them like, I can't imagine losing them in the same sort of way,
Yeah.
which I appreciated. The movie did have moments where they humanized these characters and allowed us to see that this wasn't just a job for them. They were personal stakes invested in solving these crimes, not because they are just cops, but because they are people who care. Even Denzel had a moment where he's talking to the dead body of the girl, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in out of context, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
he's just like, yeah, we're gonna get that guy.
Yeah.
There as a corpse.
Yeah.
But like, it showed a little bit.
It showed a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a scene where Rami Malek's wife asked him, "Did you turn on the security alarm?" And Rami Malek kind of paused. I was like, yeah, but that's because Rami Malek isn't sleeping anymore because he's just so consumed with everything, and
Yeah.
he's just staying up all night, and he's kind of just like the security guard at that point, kind of just watching the house because he knows what happens at night.
Yeah. That's true, you're right.
I do want to point out, though, something about the victims. It was nice getting a chance to see one of the families and showing that they were the detectives were caring about them as people and not just as a job they had to get done. Maybe I missed this. It didn't seem like there was any specific motivation for who he was choosing as victims.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
Or there
think
was
so
like any sort of tie between them. That was kind of vague to me, and I almost wish that there was some sort of MO where he's doing this because blank. Like it didn't even seem to like what a lot of these movies do. There's often some sexual satisfaction that they get, and there's a moment where he alludes to it where Denzel's like, "Oh, you're rock hard," like
in the interrogation room, yeah.
Yeah, but like there wasn't enough of that to really add to Jared Leto's character or his cynicism or how sinister he is. I wanted a little bit more of that. Like,
yeah, that could
give
probably
me
been included.
something.
Yeah, that could probably been included in like the extra scene with Jared Leto. Because you're right, there's like no, they didn't really reveal a motivation of why he does it. Just besides he's like crazy and like gets some sexual gratification from it. And then
But
they
it's
mentioned that he,
it's very,
and they mentioned that like he bites them too, which is like you could probably just explain a little more.
Yeah, why he does that. In the other movies that we said, in David Fincher's, in his thing, they give you a reason why, like in Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, and we see the killer, you know, and or a cop, and I forget what he says, but we get a reason why he does what he does, because I think his father did it to him or something like that, or his father was a killer or something like that. But in Kevin Spacey's, he's crazy, but he has this kind of like you said, God complex, right? Yeah. So he's doing the seven deadly sins. But I think what that does it better, like in that movie, we don't even see Kevin Spacey until the very end, like the last 20 minutes of the movie. But everything that's built up about this mysterious killer is so like, impactful. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to see him.
You get to know his character without seeing
him. Yeah, from the murders you've done, we get to know him. You know, and I think that's really good storytelling in Seven. You know, sorry, what were you saying?
No, like in this one, what I want to say is because we're just introduced to Jared Leto's character in such a black way too. Like he's investigating an appliance store because there was supposed to be a repair made at one of the women who had died's house or something, and he's just sitting there. He turns around and you're like, oh, there's Jared Leto. Oh, so he did it. That's kind of all you needed to know from that point. And that sucks because up until that point, we didn't know anything about the character, any motivation between who he's choosing. It just was people are dead. Here's the obvious suspect because he's a weirdo and the biggest name in the movie. Yeah. Now let's watch us get him. And we ultimately don't get any sort of cathartic ending because he just ends up dying. Because he gets hit over the head with the shovel. It wasn't like in a cool action scene either. It was just like, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we can hop into the ending and just like talk about like that part and like the twists and all that stuff, because I feel like that's where most people have like maybe the main problem.
Oh, I just have one thing to say though. When we're talking about Jared Leto's character, is that like you said, that was the first time we saw him was inside the that appliance store, but I think the second time when we see him, I think that second time when we see his character for the first time at night when Denzel is like looking in his car, I think that was a really good I guess a second introduction to him, because that probably should have been the first. Yeah, because just seeing him with the light shining his face and how he's looking this way and he just says a few things, I think that was very eerie, very creepy, very weird and strange. That should have been the first time we saw him. And that was, I think that's a better introduction to him. And then like when it gets into the investigation scenes, when he's in the room and all that, I do like how he's like, you could tell like he's kind of like in a way like he's playing with his food. He's enjoying himself in this investigation room. I wish that they, like you guys said, had like another scene so we could understand him a little bit more better. And I think what would help, is maybe just exploring his character a little bit more better before filming. Like maybe he's a person that like with a dialogue he could say like these smart, intelligent words, and you could see that maybe underneath this fake thing that he's having, like he's talking like he's talking to them in a very nice, calm way, but he has like a stare, or he's a little bit like off his rock a little bit, but you could tell he's putting up.
Oh, sorry.
No. Like you could tell like he's forcing this nice guy kind of persona, but you could tell there's underneath the surface there's something like insidious. There's somebody that is, you don't want to be alone with this person, and if they could have conveyed that a little bit more better. And then when we got to the end of the movie, when Rami Malek and him were alone, then have that mask come off, and then we see like in the car ride to the the desert, right? We could see
unhinged.
how like evil this man is, but they didn't even talk at all in the car. And when they got there is when they started like talking a little bit, whatever. But
Jared Leto was talking.
huh?
They
No,
talked
but-
a little, but
yeah.
it was pretty much like inconsequential stuff. Like
Yeah, like he was quiet. Rami Malek was quiet, and just Jared Leto was talking a whole bunch of nonsense. But they should have built him up, I think, to be more intelligent, more like there's
think-
somebody dangerous here. And then in the
I think
end,
that would have helped in
yeah.
the presentation of Jared Leto's character because
Yeah.
he's presented as a blue collar creep with long, drapey,
Mm.
greasy hair,
Yeah.
with eyes with dark bags underneath them, and very wide eyed. And
Yeah.
he looks like a creep. He ends up being a creep. There's
Yeah.
no surprise or nuance to that.
Exactly. They should have
It's presented
flipped that.
in like
Yeah.
in a way where he's, let's say, instead of being just like a laborer character, he's like a white collar. Like, he's the business owner himself. Like
Mhm.
he's someone with a wife and kids. He presents himself so good where it's like, why would he be the person?
Yeah.
But when I'm introduced to a creep who spends all his time in strip clubs
Mhm.
and doesn't take care of himself in any way, there's no sort of question of whether or not he did it. It's obvious that he did it, and there's
Yeah.
no interest in anything deeper because he's showing the detectives, even as he's talking to them in the interrogation room, yeah, I'm a creep, so what? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what his whole thing was.
Yeah.
I wish they had tried.
I wish they
If
tried
they'd
more.
give me anything.
Yeah, like they could have done a lot with that character, you know. Like I just wish they did more with it. Like what you said, have another way to have him like you know, he doesn't have to be this like blue collar, or if he is like is, you know, blue collar guy, or was it white collar, blue collar, whatever it is.
Yeah, he's a blue collar guy.
Blue
'cause
collar
he's,
guy, right?
Maybe like a dirty job, which is repairs and stuff.
Yeah,
That's
like he could do that, but then even though he's doing this, right, have him be smarter than, you know, like this man should have been something else, right? He shouldn't be doing something like this.
exactly.
You know what I mean? But they didn't do anything like that. They just pretty much straightforward. He's a bad guy. He's a creep. He's a weirdo. You know, don't
At
trust him.
the end, they try to not retcon it, but they try to justify it a little bit by
Mhm.
going, he likes to work jobs where he can easily up and leave. Like that was something that's like said
Yeah.
towards the very, very end of the movie,
Mhm.
which I guess it would explain his job there.
Mhm.
But then if you're building his character around that idea, it's kind of a waste in my opinion, because
Yeah.
we're not really given anything more to him. And I wish he had like even some family or someone to vouch for him in any way, someone to go, no, he's a good guy, something to just misdirect me from it being Jared Leto,
Mhm.
or just make his character more complex, like Vivek suggested,
Yeah.
by giving us an extra scene. Unfortunately, this movie's already 2 hours long, so
Yeah.
like you
Mhm.
got to find somewhere to trim the fat, because
Mhm.
if there was the extra scene, I would have enjoyed his character a little bit more, but I don't think it would have saved the movie in any way.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the ending where it's like Denzel didn't find any evidence in the apartment that he did it, so he does the thing where he gives Rami Malek just the red pin that he bought to show that like he did it to Rami Malek to give him that comfort, but we're still not sure because there's no evidence.
Yeah. To feel like he's justified in him killing Jared Leto, right?
Yeah, that's like the whole point of him like buying it and giving it to him, so Rami Malek can justify him killing
Mhm.
Jared Leto
Yeah.
and just be
By that point in the movie, I
calm.
didn't care.
and just to like just so for him to be like just basically calm and then move on and spend time with his family instead of like opening up that can of worms again and then just like being depressed and then going like insane thinking about that and just losing his family and then just being where Denzel is.
Mhm.
So like I feel like the movie has that ambiguity because like we're not sure if he did it, but you still like, yeah, he did it because
He
just
did
look at
that
him.
shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
it.
it was
Yeah.
kind of like OJ. Like I hope I
Yeah.
don't get like in trouble or slandered or something, or like some libel law. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like OJ, where it's like
Yeah.
he did it. Like
Yeah.
even if he gets away with it, we kind of just know he did it based off of the evidence that was presented in the movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's nothing more, and there wasn't like there was another character introduced partway through that we can suddenly go, no, he's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
There was
leave us with nothing.
Yeah, well, there was the one guy in the beginning that killed himself. He shot himself in the head with a shotgun or something like that. Remember
Yeah,
that
but you
weirdo?
forget about his
But
character like
yeah,
halfway through.
like the things that they're going for, I don't think they hit it 100% to like, yeah, this is a good interpretation, or they're conveying it properly. I think they're trying to, but they fall short, and they're telling of what's happening. You know what I mean? Like the I don't mind it where he sends the clip. Like it's I think it's a good thing for him to do because he doesn't want Rami Malek to become like him. So I think what he did is a good thing because now he can move on with his life. They both can move on. Um, Obviously, like what we were talking about, he did do it because he's such a weirdo with Jared Leto's character in this movie. He definitely did it. And the fact that they didn't find that much evidence in his room, it doesn't mean anything. He's smart. He's smart. He could buried somewhere in the desert. He could have he had two cars, so he probably has another way that he could hide it or whatever. And it seems like that since he likes to drive a lot, Jared Leto's character, and I wish they explored in this more. Maybe he drives all these places because you know how serial killers, they like to some of them like to go back to the crime scene, right? So maybe he just drives everywhere because he's driving and viewing what he did to these women at the location multiple times a day or something. You know what I mean?
They kind of talk about that. There's like a mile marker where they have found the girl, and then they're like, "Oh, well, like there it is." Blah,
they
blah,
also
blah.
mention it in a different way, because when they were going over like who it would be, they're saying that this person likes to drive around, and so they're on their car. What's the mile?
The mile marker, yeah.
The
mile marker. Yeah.
But like be really high, like it would keep ticking up because he's driving everywhere. So he would have like a high mile thing.
Yeah, no, they talk about it, but I was just saying, like, the car is part of it too. Like, he's the killer, but he does use this car and drive everywhere with the car. The car should have been another, like, extension of his evil, and to take some stuff out of the movie and introduce new elements, like this car, like elaborate more on this car as being an extension of his evil. Like have this, because the beginning it starts out with him chasing this girl, right?
Yeah.
And so if they had done a little bit more with him in the car, a little bit more on Jared Leto's character, they could have made this machine be something of death, if they, I think, had chosen the right things to show in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like let that have been not his calling card, but like that be the main thing. Like, how like the idea like where there's smoke there's fire, like let that be like the symbolic like smoke. Like if we find this car, like we'll be able to like know what it is, or like we're talking to different mechanics and stuff. It also felt like the evidence that they were investigating, it's kind of all over the place. Like there was no through line or anything that was very momentous, like pushing stuff forward. It was by the numbers. We're investigating, we have our suspect, let's stake him out most of the movie, and then talk in between. And it's just kind of, I'm just personally not very sold on this movie. Very low score for me.
I think I
wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, because I think I'm biased because I love these kind of movies because I love David Fincher's movies. Maybe because you like it so much that you're more harsher on it. I think
I love David Fincher movies.
Yeah,
and this. And I also understand it's unfair to always compare movies to other movies, and
but
sometimes
they're trying
movie in the vacuum.
Yeah,
but like even if I were to just have watched this straight up, I don't think it did anything personally that would have kept me engaged, and I couldn't just help but compare it to other movies for that reason.
Yeah, no, I agree with you because you could I think it's okay to compare it to his movies because I think you could obviously tell they're trying to be like some of his other movies. You know what I mean? Just by look at the whole setup of this movie, it's not similar, but it's a little bit similar in certain areas. But I think they should have took some stuff out with Denzel and seeing these dead women. I think that's something that they could have probably.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah, they could have took that out. Yeah.
I also have like one question. There's a scene where he first meets the I don't know what the actual term is. A coroner, the person who deals with the dead bodies.
Yeah, the coroner.
So he goes out to lunch with her, and she has the bullet that she removed from the body at the end. Did I see that right? Was that what she had?
Yeah.
Like she almost had like a keychain.
Yeah.
Why the fuck did she have that as a keychain?
That's
am I thinking of that right? Like you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Like I swore there's a scene in the lunch where they're talking, and then there's like a little flower, or like it looked like the thing that they had removed from the chest.
It is.
And
You're right.
someone had,
Yeah,
like at
it's
that scene.
you're right. I think she painted to make it look like a flower or something. I don't know, but that is the bullet that smashed up went from being shot into that girl,
Yeah.
right? And she said that she keeps it to remind her of what we done.
What we did, yeah,
What we
right?
did, yeah, what we done, yeah.
And I was like,
That's
why?
evidence.
Like, because it was revealed at the end, the very end, last 5 minutes or so of the movie, that was the bullet that was removed.
Yeah.
And then it made me think, I was like, oh, we've seen that object before earlier, and now it ties it all together. But it's like, why would you keep it? Like, it made sense in a movie world logic thing where it's like, remember this? You saw this earlier in the movie. But then when you really think about it, it's like, that was kind of dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't keep the one thing that would incriminate me. I would destroy it. Especially if I want to live a happy life on top of that. Like, just having that this was the murder item would kind of make me go crazy. And I don't want to be reminded of it from Denzel. Like, this wasn't something that you wanted to show me at lunch after not seeing each other for like however long this was.
I'm pretty sure it's awkward.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck, lady? Like, why do you bring this?
So I heard that this script was actually written 30 years ago, and I'm not sure if they updated it since then before they made
I
it.
bet they didn't.
Yeah. I was sure like there should be confident like filmmakers. They should update the script.
Yeah, they should have.
I would be surprised if they didn't update this.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a period piece, but like a very vague period piece. I actually didn't know what time the movie had taken place. Like, I didn't know what year it was for a long.
Say like 1991 beginning, I think.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was.
I was kind of confused. I was like, when is this taking place?
Oh, I thought it was 1990, but maybe it's 91. I thought it said 1990 in the beginning, like the first couple, like the first shot of the movie, driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
I know.
unfortunate because that doesn't add to the movie. Like, it being in the 90s didn't really. It wasn't obvious in any sort of way. Even the music that was played, it was a radio station that was playing music from the 50s. So it's like you're not even taking advantage of the fact that you're set in this time period. It's just kind of like vaguely in the 90s because the script was written then.
I didn't even know
But
that.
I did think like it did hint that it was like the 90s. Well, like at least you could tell it was like older times because the cars and then the pager.
The pager and the cars and how they dress too. You could tell. I do like movies that are. I think as time goes on, we're gonna get a lot of movies like period piece movies in the 90s and early 2000s. So I wish they did more when it came to the environment, right? For it being set in the 90s, you know.
Like it doesn't need to be like, you know, like we're so 90s and like all the cups are like those blue cups with like the purple and blue, and like it didn't have to have like everyone with high tops and stuff, you know. I just, if they were going to take the script, because you said it was written like 30 years ago, so that would have been in the 90s. If it was written then and you're bringing it into today, but you decide to keep the story in the 90s, that's obviously for a reason. So make use of the setting rather than just deciding it's in the 90s because the script was in the 90s. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you could have just made this today.
Yeah. I think for them, this is just me thinking, like, what if it's just because it's easier to have it be in the 90s, because if they did it now, there'd be so much things that they would have to think about, like technology, cell phones, technology, and all this stuff like that, that they probably couldn't explain, you know? Like GPS, like just GPS, where this guy is going, you know, like, and probably put that together.
Yeah.
You know, like do something like that. That's probably why they probably kept it like that.
That's a good point, because they couldn't change. If they changed the time period, then all the stuff in the script would have been changed.
A lot of things would have been changed. Yeah.
That's a fair point.
I say if it's that way, then give us just a little bit more of it. Like, take advantage if you're going to set it in this time period because of convenience of the script. Then add some flair to the script while you're at it.
Yeah.
I think at this point we can hop into scores, I guess. I'll go first. To me, I liked the movie. I think it had some good strong points. There's some things that could have done a little more, which like added in like another scene with Jared Leto's character. Some people might not like the ending. They might want to like something different. I feel like Jared Leto dying was just like surprising. And then them working together to hide the evidence was like, to me, it was okay. I think it wrapped up fine. Some people might want like a shootout or something, or like actually catching Jared Leto and putting him in jail, which I think all kind of worked, but I think it's just up to everybody's like opinion. But yeah, I like the movie. I like the investigation of them trying to get the evidence, figure out who it is, and then like getting the actual evidence to pin it on Jared Leto. So to me, I feel like you should watch the movie. I would say to watch it. If you like investigation movies, I would say to do it.
Mm. Do you want to go, John, or you want me to go?
You can go.
Yeah, like I think for me, like the beginning is a little bit pointless, but I do like the, you know, how we get into it with the whole him on the road chasing this girl. The ending I think could have been a lot better. But the stuff in the middle, you know, stuff that we've seen before, but I think because like cop movies and like what you were saying, you know, this is probably why you give it more of a harsher score. I'm giving it, you know, a better score because I can see what they're going for. I can see that they're trying. Performance are good. I wish it just did a better ending and utilized Jared Leto a little bit more. So and the car, you know, like there's so many things they could have done a little bit more better. Are you guys doing like a point score thing? Or
We're just doing like watch up to you or pass.
I would say watch it, you know, because Denzel doesn't do a lot of movies these days, you know, besides Equalizer. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, watch it. Watch it. I know a good Denzel movie. Like when I say good, like in his performance, he did a good job acting in this movie. I think the movie is passable, you know. But there's a lot of better crime movies out there. Seven, Insomnia, Zodiac. Was it Girl with Dragon Tattoo? Gone Girl. Like, there's so much good ones.
AKA just a David Fincher movie.
Just all David Fincher movies. Yeah. But yeah, I say yeah, you can watch it. Mm-hmm.
I will say pass, and it's a strong pass for me. I think that this movie doesn't do anything new with the genre, and where it fails is where those other movies that you named succeed very well,
like
and
way up there.
And it almost feels as if to suggest to someone to watch this movie would be a suggestion to waste their time. And I'd rather you just not waste your time with this when you could watch those other movies that do essentially what this movie was attempting to do, but with added gimmicks, more interesting characters, a more fleshed out villain, more stylized. There's just more options out there than this one. I will give this movie credit though for Denzel. He's great. He's great in like almost everything I've ever seen Denzel in. I love Denzel.
Yeah, me too.
I really enjoyed his character, and I wish that he was given a script that would have allowed him to do a little bit more. The most he gets to do is in that interrogation scene where he gets up in his face, and you really get to see him try to like do a little bit more with what he's given. But ultimately, this is a forgettable movie and a movie that you should probably pass on.
Yeah, like oh, sorry, what were you saying, Vic?
No, I was saying like Denzel is just like he's just Denzel at this point. That's all he is.
It's hard to think of him as bad in anything.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad in anything he's ever been in, and that's what I was telling Vivek yesterday. Like, do you even think they give Denzel directions? Like, read the script and just do what you think works. Just go ahead and do your thing, man. I'm not even gonna tell you what to do. Yeah, that's like,
I would hope so.
Yeah,
imagine being the guy who's trying to tell Denzel what to do.
Yeah,
like, you have to really earn your stripes to really say anything.
You gotta be Spike Lee or something, or like Fincher or Nolan or something. People that know cinema. You know what I mean?
The S tier directors. Like you can't be. You know, you can't be Joe Schmo. And this is my first or second movie, and I was like, hey Denzel, like you're not giving it enough, man.
Yeah,
That'd be insane.
Exactly. There's something I was gonna say too. Like and like you were saying that him to stretch his like. If this movie had better material to like he could stretch his like, you know, acting, you know, capabilities, I guess, you know, something that he hasn't done before, because like when I saw the trailer I was thinking this might be another Equalizer, but
it looked like I thought it was going to be another Equalizer.
Yeah, right, but it's not, you know. But I think if they had given him something where he could actually dive more deeper into it, like you could tell like in the interrogation scene, or when he's seeing these dead women and talking to them, you can see that the hurt in his face and stuff like that, you know, he's like tearing up and all this. I wish he had more to go with, you know, to dive in with, Like I don't know if we're ever gonna get like another performance like Training Day or something, or I don't, like The Flight. I don't know if the movie is it called Flight, right?
It's called Flight.
Flight, yeah.
There's also Fences. Fences is another movie that
Like Fences, yeah, like yeah, stuff like that. I hope we do because he's really good at like a drama. That's his like thing. So I hope he gets more work because he's barely doing anything these days. But he's an older man now, so yeah.
I think he probably just picks like if he likes the script, he'll pick it to do at this point.
Yeah, the one thing I was gonna say in this movie, when Jared Leto told the cops to that a cop was shot in his apartment, right? There's like no evidence in there, right? I know Denzel found like his floorboard with papers, but there wasn't really any evidence in his house.
What it seems like there wasn't any.
It's okay.
On him, yeah, because it'd probably just be like Jared Leto's character is smart and doesn't keep the evidence in his house.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and they didn't say what cop was shot. It was just a cop was shot in his house.
Yeah, Jared Leto was just saying, oh, he just called in and a cop was shot in his house or something, or like at the apartment, so cops will come right away.
Yeah, man down.
Yeah, man
Oh,
down.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask because I'm wondering, was that a smart idea from Jared Leto, or was it just
I
like,
feel like because there was no evidence in his house, that's why he was confident to say it.
yeah?
The man,
And but he just was in the precinct being investigated, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just trying to see what he was. Yeah, I guess it's kind of clever. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, I guess that's the episode. If you liked the video, please subscribe and give it a like, and we'll see you next time.
Deuces. Be easy, guys.
Yeah.